Hello and thank you for deciding to watch this super cool video on everything you need to know about the South African English accent. Don't forget to follow and let's get right to it. Now, let's first talk a little bit about the history of the South African English language and how it developed over time. To have a little bit more of an overview, I will explain it with this timeline shown here. So English in South Africa dates back to 1806, with the arrival of the British at the Cape, now called South Africa. English starts to spread through soldiers, administrators, missionaries, settlers, and fortune seekers between 1820 and 1862. And English also takes roots in the Eastern Cape and Natal through settlements. Then in 1870, the diamond mines of Kimberley contribute to the growth of English, and a few years later, in 1886, gold mines of the Witwatersrand attract more English speakers to South Africa. But because English imposed on the Africans community at the Cape, it led to resentment for the English language. Then in the late 19th century, English was introduced into the South African communities by missionaries, becoming the medium of instruction in mission schools. In the Second Boer War in 1899 to 1902, South African hardens Afrikaner hospitality towards the English language, and in 1948, after the National Party comes to power, Afrikaans become the openly favored language. Till 1994, English is treated as a Cinderella language, meaning that the language is unrecognized. But despite official treatment, English retains dominance in higher education, commerce, science, and technology. This was until Nelson Mandela's government brings rapid changes to South Africa, increasing the use of African languages but maintaining English as a neutral language, and Afrikaans loses its status as the language of power. Then in 1996, the Dictionary of South African English on Historical Principles is published, aiming to elevate the status of South African English. Now, English is seen as both a global language and a means of communication.
I'm going to tell you about the customs and habits. English is seen as a requirement for South Africans who want a successful career in business and the professions. English is the principal language of business and tourism. English newspapers are published daily, and even public signs notices in South Africa are always posted in English. South African families are generally affectionate and protective, and religion is generally important to them. They go to religious gatherings every week.
What are the phonetic principles of South African English? 1. South African English is non-rhotic. That means that the sound of the R is not pronounced or that you hear it very softly. An example of this is car and park. Now they pronounce it like ka and park. The second one in South African English is that there are several vowel mergers. This means that the I in sit and bid is now pronounced as an A. So you say it like set and bed. This is also known as the kit-bit merger. The third one, the A sound in like the word cat can also be pronounced as a centralized vowel. This means that it can sound different than its standard pronunciation. The fourth one, and also the last. The U sound is pronounced in South African English as a central vowel. This means that the U is pronounced as the like cup. So for example, you have house, but the South African English say it as hus. Now I'm going to talk about the grammar rules. So here are some grammar rules that are important in South African English. The first one is that South African English is a lot like the British English system, like in terms of spelling and grammar, but there are a few other ones. The second one is that they pronounce the T as an F. So, for example, instead of thank you, they say thank you. Third one, plural forms in South African English mostly follow the standard rules, like adding an S or an AS after your word. For example, now I have 2 cars, adding an S after the word car, or now I have 2 houses and adding an S, AS after the word house. Part 1. Sometimes you also have variation in the word, in the spelling of the word. Like here you have color and here you also have color, but you don't write it the same. 5. The use of tenses. They use the past, present and future simple. And the last one, there are some words that are not the same, but Irene, Gwen and I are going to explain it in other parts.
South African English. Those takkies look lonely.
Thanks, stereotypical South African English. I got them on the mall today, ready to chow down on lekker braai.
Wait, what is this braai thing you keep talking about? Oh, a braai is a barbecue. We love to throw on some crops and have a good Yule. Yule? What's that?
A Yule is a good time, like a party. And hey, it's pronounced as Yule. You don't have to exaggerate it that much.
Anyways, did you hear the latest Skinner about Sarah and Mark? Skinner? What's that?
Gossip. Now let chow and let the doop flow in.
Chow? Doep? Yeah, chow means eat and drof is a drink. Something to sip on whilst we enjoy the food from the braai. Got it!
I burned my finger on the braai.
Ah, you dof. Oh, what a wonderful time we are having.
This was the end of our video on the South African English accent. I hope you learned a lot about the subject, and for more amazing videos like these, please click the follow button and like. And in the next video, we will discuss more about the amazing accent. So have fun learning and thank you for watching.